Good morning, and welcome to One Baha'i, that semi-regular podcast in which I just talk a little bit about how I understand my own faith. As you know, it's nothing official. This is just me, one individual. There is no official interpreter of the faith alive today, so what you get is just my own opinion. Take it or leave it. Hopefully I'm close to the writings. Today I wanted to look again at the Tablet of Ahmad. As you know, we looked at it a little bit yesterday, but I only kind of got as far as that first sentence-ish. So today, I have a couple notes. I have the tablet in front of me here. I want to go a little bit further into it. There's my prayer book. Cover made by a friend of mine from Ethiopia. Thanks, love it. Yesterday, we looked at the beginning. He is the King, the all-knowing, the wise. Lo, the nightingale of paradise singeth upon the twigs of the tree of eternity with holy and sweet melodies, proclaiming to the sincere ones the glad tidings of the nearness of God, calling the believers in the divine unity to the court of the presence of the generous one, informing the severed ones of the message which hath been revealed by God, the King, the glorious, the peerless, guiding the lovers to the seat of sanctity and to this resplendent beauty. I'm not going to go over that again. I just wanted to remind us of what we'd already read. Us being mostly me, I kind of like to put everything into a context. So the next phrase, the next sentence is, "Verily this is that most great beauty, foretold in the books of the messengers, through whom truth shall be distinguished from error, and the wisdom of every command shall be tested." Okay, before we look at that, I just want to talk a little bit about the Tablet of Ahmad and why I love it so much. Not only is it an amazing, amazing piece, it's the Word of God, but Word of God aside, it is an astonishingly complex, straightforward, and brilliant piece of literature. I know some people don't like when you look at sacred text as literature, but I think there's a validity to that. I think you can get more layers of meaning out of it when you do consider it as literature. And this is a prime, priceless example of it. Now, for me, there was a few years ago, I was in Toronto at a friend's home, and he was kind enough to put me up for a few days during some meetings that we were having there. And we were sitting around the coffee table or the kitchen table one night drinking tea, and he was telling a story about the Tablet of Ahmad. He had wanted to learn it in Arabic. So he wrote it on a note card and put the card on his steering wheel. And every morning he would drive his daughter to school, and he would be chanting the Tablet of Ahmad in Arabic. I mean, he spoke Persian as a mother tongue. Well, he would be driving. He would start chanting. If he forgot it, he would glance down, sort of like I do when I can't remember what I am reading. I'm not reading my notes. I'm reading the sacred text. Verily, this is that most great beauty. And he would look at the steering wheel, remember where he was, and continue. Well, one day, his daughter was at a meeting, a Baha'i meeting, and I guess it was a feast or something. They were asked if they would say a prayer. She was asked to say a prayer. So she stood up, and she chanted the Tablet of Ahmad in Arabic. And her father looked at her and said, "When did you learn Arabic?" And she said, "Dad, you've been chanting this every morning for the last year. How could I not remember it?" Well, I took that story to heart, and my son was only 2 or 3 years old at the time. So every evening when he was lying in bed and we were saying prayers, I would recite the Tablet of Ahmad. And he had my permission to stop me at any point and ask a question about a term or a phrase. And it was interesting. I mean, try explaining the tree of eternity to a 3-year-old. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. So he would regularly question me. Anyways, one day we were at a Baha'i gathering and somebody asked if we would say a prayer. And I said, Shogi, what prayer should I say? And he said, King. I said, King? He said, He is King, all-knowing, wise. Lo, nightingale paradise, singeth tree of eternity. And he went through the entire first part of the Tablet of Ahmad from memory at age 3. I just love that. It really speaks to me of the ability of children, the capacity of children, 3 years old. Wow. And the power of the Holy Word. Excuse me, I'm going to be sipping coffee while I do this because I've got a bit of a tickle in my throat today. That's on the wrong side. There we go. Excuse me. So anyways, it got me thinking a lot about memorization. And as a tutor of the Ruhi books, tutoring a lot of courses at that time, memorization and techniques of memorization was really quite important to me. I mean, it still is. So I want to go through the beginning again, just a little bit, and share with you, because I was asked in an email yesterday, I want to share a little bit about memorization techniques on the first part. Okay, so I'm not going to pray the tablet. I'm going to just sort of recite it and show my techniques as I go. So I remember the beginning. He is the King, the all-knowing, the wise. Lo, the nightingale of paradise singeth upon the twigs of the tree of eternity with holy and sweet melodies. Okay, so the melodies reminds me of the bird, so bird to melodies. And then I use my fingers. Remember there are 4 verbs? Wow, my camera is backwards, so I always move backwards. There are 4 verbs, so I use my fingers to remember which one I'm at. Proclaiming to the sincere ones the glad tidings of the nearness of God. Calling the believers in the divine unity to the court of the presence of the generous one. Informing the severed ones of the message which hath been revealed by God, the King, the glorious, the peerless. Guiding the lovers to the seat of sanctity and to this resplendent beauty. Now, beauty's the key word for me. Verily, this is that most great beauty, foretold in the books of the messengers, through whom truth shall be distinguished from error, and the wisdom of every command shall be tested. Verily. So you got verily, verily. Verily, he is a tree of life that bringeth forth the fruits of God, the exalted, the powerful, the great. And that's the end of part 1. So you see I'm using key words to move from one part to the next, from one sentence to the next. And then God is the next key word. You know, verily he is the tree of life that bringeth forth the fruits of God, the exalted, the powerful, the great. O Ahmad, bear thou witness that verily he is God. And there is no God but him, the King, the Protector, the Incomparable, the Omnipotent, and that the one whom he hath sent forth by the name of Ali, so you go from God to the messenger, was a true one from God, to whose commands we are all conforming. Now here I think about the Kitabi Akdas. Recognition, obedience. Recognize Ali, be obedient. I don't know if that helps or not, but finding those little key words always helps me move from one part to the next. It's an old dramatic actor's technique. But today, I want to look at that next phrase that we were on. Verily, this is that most great beauty, foretold in the books of the messengers, through whom truth shall be distinguished from error, and the wisdom of every command shall be tested. Okay, so Baha'u'llah has already introduced this tablet. He has given us the outline for it. Now he is saying who he is. You know, In the beginning, he says, "Lo, the nightingale of paradise singeth." He is the nightingale of paradise. Not only is he the nightingale singing on the twigs of the tree of eternity, he is that most great beauty. Which beauty? The one that is foretold in all the Holy Scriptures. So he's already referencing the past. He is reminding us of who he is historically. And why is this important? Well, I mean, it's important on many levels, one of which he mentions here. Truth shall be distinguished from error. The wisdom of every command will be tested. You see, wisdom requires timeliness. Baha'u'llah says somewhere, I can't remember offhand, but not everything that can be said is timely. So there is a timeliness to it. When I'm talking with my friends about progressive revelation, I don't speak of it as if all the religions are synonymous, because they're not. The underlying essence is one, but the details are always different because the times are different. And one of the things I talk about is the concept of a single law moved through history. Moses said, "An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth." We all remember that phrase. And if Jesus had said that, the Roman legions would have wiped out the Christians. So Moses said it to get the Jews out of Egypt. At that time, if somebody hurt you, you killed them. And Moses says, no, no, no. If someone takes out your eye, take out their eye. Equal. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Don't go beyond. If he had said, turn the other cheek, well, the Jews would still be in Egypt. So you see how it progresses. At the time of the Egyptians and the Jews, the law had to be an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That was the wisdom of the day. With Jesus, with the oppression of the Roman legions, the law had to change. It was no longer equitable. It was now turn the other cheek. And I'll talk about that next time because I think it's a fascinating little discussion. So Baha'u'llah is saying that the wisdom of every command shall be tested. And there's the implication that the timeliness of each command will be tested. Wow, I skipped that phrase. Through whom truth shall be distinguished from error. Okay, let's go back to that phrase. I'm kind of backwards here this morning. I'm still drinking my coffee. Leave me alone. So, as you know, when we read the sacred writings, we make our own interpretations. I'm doing it right now. In the old days, when you had priests and ministers, they would tell you what the things meant. They were the official interpreters. They were the ones who were seen to have that God-given right of understanding. And quite often, like me, they were wrong. So a misunderstanding would be perpetuated through history. I think I will talk about turn the other cheek today, because it's an interesting one in there. We've all heard the phrase turn the other cheek, right? It's one of the teachings of Jesus. The interesting thing is, as a Baha'i, I was taught, go back to the original writings. Find the source. Question it. When my friend Lucky was teaching me about the faith, she always said, if there's anything that I say that you wonder about, tell me to show it to you in the writings. All right, so I grew up Jewish and I eventually became Christian. And as a Christian, I would often hear turn the other cheek. And I don't know, it didn't quite make sense to me. If someone slugs you, let him slug you again. That's how it was taught to me. Made no sense. What does anybody learn? I learn how to bleed. That's about it, So I asked the minister, I said, well, where is it in the writings? Oh, he was surprised. And he found it for me. It was in Matthew. And it doesn't say if a man strikes you. Sorry, it doesn't say turn the other cheek. It's not in the Bible, that phrase. What Jesus says is if a man strikes you on the right cheek, offer him your left. That's very specific. If a man strikes you on the right cheek, offer him your left. I wondered why the specificity. Remember, yesterday I was saying there's nothing in the writings that is accidental. So Jesus had to say, in my opinion, right cheek. So I've played this out with a lot of my friends over the years. I wish somebody was here with me right now so that I could play it out with them. But if I was to strike you on the right cheek, I'm right-handed. I would not punch you because then I'm getting you on your left cheek. No, to strike you on your right cheek, it's a backhanded slap. It's more of an insult than an act of aggression. And if you, being the good Christian, were to offer me your left cheek, what does that mean? You're showing it to me. So it's almost like you're taunting me. I go, whack, ha-ha, take that. You go, all right, fine. Ta-da. If I follow through with exactly the same motion, boom, I no longer get you on the cheek, I get you square in the face. You see, same motion, but by your simple turning, you have now elevated the level of aggression. Instead of striking you on the cheek, which is fairly benign, not a lot of people are going to be too upset over this, but striking someone square in the face, totally different level of aggression. I don't think Jesus was saying if a man slugs you, let him slug you again. I think what he was saying is if someone strikes you out of insult, force them to go into this next level of aggression. So you're putting them into a new moral situation. I may be willing to strike you on the cheek. I'm not willing to strike you square in the face. That's too much. You see, now I've learned a moral lesson. I've learned shame. But if I do strike you on the cheek, well, everybody around me is going to say, hey, what are you doing? Leave him alone. Now I've learned the moral lesson of collective security. Whichever way I turn, I learn a moral lesson. Go back to the Bible. Look that one up. Look at the next couple verses too, because they further reinforce that. If a man asks for your outer garment, offer him your inner garment too. When would anybody ask for your outer garment? When they were suing you for the shirt off your back in a court of law. They may be willing to humiliate you and let you stand in your underwear. Because remember, the shirts were all handmade, hand-woven cloth. It was probably your most valuable possession. So they may be willing to humiliate you and let you stand in your underwear to pay off your debt. But you go a step further. You're willing to stand naked before your peers. That's going too far. You see how this lesson is the same? So when I read, through whom truth shall be distinguished from error, and when I read the Kitab Yaqan, the Book of Certitude, and read where Baha'u'llah says, this verse, as is commonly accepted, makes no sense. He reminds the uncle of the Bab of a common verse, a common understanding, and he says, this common understanding makes no sense. Look at this new understanding. Now you will see the truth within this verse. This is that most great beauty, foretold in the books of the messengers, through whom truth shall be distinguished from error, and the wisdom of every command shall be tested. You see, Baha'u'llah is going through all the other writings, metaphorically speaking, and deciding which verses are still, which laws, which commandments are still valid today. And the next line, verily, he is the tree of life. You know, I've probably gone on enough today. Let's talk about the tree of life either tomorrow or Monday. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do yet. I think I wanted to thank you very much for watching this today. Some days go smoother. Some days I'm a little bit more rough in trying to explain my thoughts. Hopefully this made a little bit of sense today. I will be doing this video cast, vlog. I learned the word vlog. I will be doing this vlog 5 days a week during this quarantine time of the pandemic. So there's another reason to pray for a quick reversal of this quarantine. I figure Monday to Friday is probably good for me. We'll see what happens. I may do it more. I'm not sure. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. Any thoughts, please share. Any suggestions, I'd love to hear those too. Good jokes, I love it all. Be in contact. Hit the like button. Evidently that makes it more accessible to more people. So, thank you very much. Talk to you next time.